Welcome to an all-new post-NXT pay-per-view episode of the Workshoot Wrestling Podcast. This is Corey Richmond, joined by Jason Brooks. Jason, NXT TakeOver in your house. We both said coming into the show that we thought it was a good show on paper, not a great show, and I think that's what we got. I thought we got one, not a match of the year contender, but a really solid three-way match and some other good stuff, but at the end of the year, I don't know if anything we're gonna remember as a blowaway moment, but a solid show.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it was a good show. Some matches I thought chemistry-wise wasn't great. Some matches I thought were really, really good and kind of surprised me, some performances. But the right woman went over. I'm very happy for Io Shirai. So, yeah, looking forward to talking about it with you.
Absolutely. And I love a couple of quick things overview-wise. I love the feel of the In Your House set. I love having Todd Pettingale there for the old school feel.
That was one of my highlights for sure. That was great.
The Ico commercials, the ice cream bars with the NXT people. I thought the ambiance, all that stuff, I thought really worked. I thought the opening music, that band, Agent Orange or whoever they were,
terrible.
We can live without it. Maybe we're both old, so it's not our type of music anymore. I'll stick with Seven Dust and Korn and those type of people for right now. I don't need whoever they are, but I thought overall, I thought the announcing was good. I thought everything overall wise. I thought the crowd actually worked for this show. I thought the chant for the Johnny Gargano stuff of the Cena type of thing. I thought all those things, the background stuff, worked. So I think that was a step in the right direction to get before we get to actual matches.
Yeah, there were some things I did like the In Your House set a lot. I loved Todd Pettingill. I loved having DX, kind of making a, fun of themselves. So yeah, some things I really liked. I thought the announcing was okay, but like a little spotty. I thought Mora wasn't as good as he usually is. I think the crowd was solid in some matches. In another match, like why were they chanting for Karrion Kross? So there were some kind of weird things I thought with the crowd, but I think overall, I think they were kind of weird in the beginning, and I think they picked up as things went along. So overall, definitely a very solid show, but I think probably one of the weaker takeovers maybe that we've ever had. But again, with time constraints, with the coronavirus, with everything going on, I can't necessarily kill them. And they've given us the bar is set so high for them. It's kind of impossible to reach each time. So, I'm not going to kill them over a show that wasn't amazing, but definitely a very solid show with some good matches.
And before we get too far, just let everybody know you can follow us on Twitter at WorkshootPod. Of course, join us as we are trying to be as social as possible on Facebook as the week goes along. And over the last couple of weeks, we've done some really good interviews with independent wrestler David Starr, a two-part episode, which apparently a lot of people have liked. We have episode coming out this Tuesday with Big Vito from WCW, WWE, and ECW fame, which was a really interesting, to say the least, time. So got a lot of interesting episodes that you can catch. But Jay, let's get into this show. What was, I think we all know the best match of the show was the main event, but was there anything that either underachieved or overachieved for you on this show?
Yeah, the women's match, the six women's match was okay.
It was a TV match.
It was a TV match. The Adam Cole thing, I don't really know what that was, to be honest with you. I was kind of, apparently they taped the show for 12 hours, taped the match for 12 hours. I don't know what they were taping. I thought it was fine, but not great. So, there were definitely some things. The Karrion Kross match, I really, and we'll go into it, but I really, really don't get it. So there were a bunch of things that really disappointed me.
Interesting. All right. For me, just like a quick overview, like I said, the main event I thought was tremendous. I don't know if it's like a 5-star classic.
I'm gonna say this about let me just say this about the women's main event. I think it was interesting because three-way matches are always hard, men's or women's.
Sure.
And they always do this thing where the one woman or man gets knocked out and he's out for like 10 minutes, and then the two women or men wrestle each other, and then it's kind of that back and forth. This was a really, really good three-way match. I think it's one of the better three-way matches I've seen in a really long time because they were all in the ring together a lot at the same time. And I think that's very, very hard to do. When you have the talent of these women, it makes a lot of sense. but I think they really did a good job of coordinating. It didn't look sloppy. I thought the spots were really good. I thought it was a tremendous three-way match, and one of the better three-way matches, men's or women's, I think I've ever seen. So I feel like these three-way matches usually end up being, not so great. The other thing is we're kind of all over the place right now, but we do have to talk about Damian Priest, who I think had maybe the performance of the night. I thought he was great, and I think he should have went over, but we could get more into that.
And I guess my last thought before we get fully into this card, I'm going to agree with you. There was something about the show that it was, like I said, it wasn't a bad show, but it wasn't a blowaway show.
No.
And it had nothing to do with, I've made these excuses over the last couple of weeks that coronavirus and everything else going on in the world has made me very depressed and I'm not into wrestling. It had nothing to do with that because the crowd was good, everything background-wise, but just something about it just didn't feel like a takeover. But, Jay, let's start with the beginning of the show. The six-woman tag, I thought everyone worked hard. No one did anything stupid that could have ended their career, a.k.a. good job, Shotzi, not try to kill yourself. I was a little bit surprised with the results. I mean, I'm happy that they did protect both Reina Gonzalez, who I think can be a monster. And if you push her the right way, you can get even maybe a title. Maybe she doesn't have to win, of course, but maybe a title match, maybe by the end of the year.
Corey, when's the last time they ever had a six-way men's or six-way women's match where the men won or where the heels won? The heels never win. Especially in a pay-per-view and a bigger match and a Raw or SmackDown main event, the baby faces always win. So I was not surprised at the result at all.
I guess maybe the only reason I was a little surprised is because it seemed like they were pushing Candice LeRae. Like I said, they protected her. She was not there for the end result. And I thought that they were maybe pushing Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez a little bit more than the other three females.
By the way, you talk about how to protect somebody. The NXT has done such a great job of protecting Raquel Gonzalez, right? Yeah. They're not putting her in long matches. They're putting her in, short matches with really good talent to make her look good, utilizing her power moves. I mean, you talk about how to book someone, and this is why I was arguing with someone on Twitter, and we can get into that in a little bit, about NXT and what they do right, what they do wrong. But WWE doesn't know how to do stuff like this. Protect a performer while she's developing, making her look strong, and pushing her the right way. I think what they've done with her has been really, really fantastic.
And we said in the past, it's Diesel and Shawn Michaels from the late 90s, where you had Shawn was the workhorse and you had Diesel was the big guy who beat the living crap out of her as the bodyguard. At some point, you could have the two of them break up and you could have a feud or whatever. But I really do think you can make Raquel Gonzalez this monster who you let her slowly develop, and maybe within a year, maybe at the end of the year, I don't know if Io Shirai will have the title. Spoiler, by that point, but maybe you can get a main event, of Io Shirai or whoever your babyface champion versus Raquel Pennington, who's this monster they've built, who who's basically I think she lost her match at Tegan Knox, but it was almost like as a fluke at the time. I think they're protecting her well, that you might be able to do something with her.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Like I said, everybody looked okay. Finn Balor versus Damian Priest. They had a good, hard-fought match, a little bit over 13 minutes. We both agreed that Damian Priest should have won this match, but we both thought at the end of the day that Finn Balor would win. Coming off this win, I would think Finn Balor will be the next person to face Adam Cole, baby.
He's already faced him, though. They're having him face him again?
I mean, we can get into it more when we get to Adam Cole match, but I mean, I don't see who the next guy is. I don't think you're doing title versus title with Keith Lee. Mm-hmm. But as you said before, Damian Priest is by far his best performance since being with the company, the former Punishment Martinez in ROH.
Yeah.
I thought he was really good, but unless he's going to the main roster or they cut away too fast and we didn't see what the next step was going to be when it looked like they were about to do a fist pump for respect at the end of the match. I don't know what you do with Damian Priest because, once again, I don't know what the actual numbers are here, but I feel like Damian Priest at some point has to win a match. He's never won a feud. I know you said wins and losses are a lot more important to me than they are to you at times, when it comes to certain things. But I don't know. Every time I look at Damian Priest, it was a great performance, but every major match he's been in, he's lost. I know he's a
Yeah,
heel.
no, I agree. If we had the the AEW record at the bottom, he'd be like 0-10 in big matches, right? So he's never won a big match. I thought this was the best match I've seen of him since he's been in NXT. I thought him and Balor had good chemistry, and it was really a fun match. I thought it was really good, but I think Priest should have won. And what do you do with him here?
Is he? I don't know. I mean, how many guys? How many guys go up to the main roster? I mean, we know that Dominik Dijak is supposed to be going up to the main roster. I mean, this is the best match I've seen from Damian Priest since his ROH days versus Will Ospreay. And what's very similar is he was going up against a smaller opponent, unlike these, Haas matches, which he's been having lately.
Well, he's been having good matches with everybody. I mean, he's beyond that. He's been having good matches, but he was actually given the stage here to have a really long match. So, I think, and obviously Balor's a tremendous wrestler, so they've had great chemistry. But I don't know what you do with him here. I mean, you can't go after Keith Lee again. You can't have him go after the NXT title because he's a heel. Does he join a tag team? Maybe they need him to join a tag team. I don't know. I don't know what they do, or they just bring him up to the main roster. I mean, he's a big guy. He has the look that Vince wants. I mean, the difference between him and Karrion Kross, I don't understand, but that we can talk about that in a minute. But he's a big guy, great look, really good athlete, really good wrestler. I mean, maybe that's the play. Dijak to Raw, Priest to SmackDown. I mean, why not? Now again, we never want to see these NXT guys go to the main roster because we know what happens to them usually, unfortunately. But, maybe this is the time to go. We've seen wrestlers in NXT who don't win titles in NXT who go to the main roster and have success. So maybe Priest will be one of those guys.
It'd be interesting to see where they go with him, but it was a great performance. Like I said, I think Finn Balor's next step is a world title shot, I would think, because there's not many singles guys who I can think of who don't have a dance partner. Keith Lee versus Johnny Gargano, the longest match of the night, a little bit over 20 minutes.
So I want to go. I want to start before you go here about my thoughts on it because we may disagree. I thought it was choppy. I thought their chemistry wasn't great. I thought it was the worst takeover match that each of them has had. It wasn't a bad match by any means, but the bar for them is set so high. Gargano, they said he was 200 pounds or whatever. I mean, he is so chiseled. He looked like he was 170 pounds. And Keith Lee's probably close to 300. So Gargano's offense looked ridiculous. He would try to put him in a sleeper. He could barely get his arms around him. And so his offense didn't look great. I thought their chemistry was off. I thought it was not a great match at all. I think the guys even kind of knew that as they were going through. It was just a pretty, I don't want to say a sloppy match, but for their standards, I think it was not the match that they're used to having on a takeover. So a solid match, but I thought it was just okay.
I don't disagree with you. I enjoyed the Keith Lee spot with putting Johnny Gargano through the glass, the plexiglass. I thought that was a good spot. Nowhere as good as his best one with Adam Cole that time, which will be the spot that they do in the highlight packages when they finally bring up to Raw at SmackDown. I thought that was good. I was surprised by the result. I thought that you build Johnny Gargano with this heel persona, and apparently, I thought he would have been a good idea to make him the North American champion and then move Keith Lee up to bigger things. Like I said, Keith Lee's one of my favorite guys in the industry right now, but I think it's time for him to move up to you for the main title.
Why can't he feud for the main title? Why can't he? Why can't he say, "Hey, I've got the NXT title, but I'm going to go for the main title too"? Do it. If you want to really put him over, do the Ultimate Warrior thing. When he's the IC champ, against Hogan, and he wins both belts. Why not? Then you do a tournament for the NXT North American title, and then you build another guy that way. And then Cole goes up to the main roster or whatever. Why not?
I don't see you do it. I don't see that, but that's a possibility. I guess you could do it.
Would that not be the biggest match that NXT could have right now?
In front of nobody, yeah, absolutely. Sorry. I don't disagree with you. I just don't know where you go from here. like I said, I thought they had a good match. I liked a couple of I liked some of the comedy stuff in the match in regards to the thing with the key and stuff. I don't think you needed the whole thing with the women at the very end. I felt that was just a little bit too much of an add-on of just goofiness. But overall, I thought Keith Lee and Gargano had a good match. Nothing great. And like you said, a little bit. I guess that would be my most disappointing part of the pay-per-view, their match. Going into the match that I think we're going to agree with, but I'm not 100% sure. For the NXT World Heavyweight Championship, your backyard, what was it? Whatever brawl they called it. Adam Cole versus Velveteen Dream in just under 15 minutes. Cole keeps the title. Another cinematic match. You brought this up beforehand. I have no idea why this took 12 hours apparently to film. According to Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful.com, reported that from his sources.
What were they doing for 12 hours? Can someone tell me what they were doing for 12 hours? That didn't look like 12 hours of I know that, we're not actors, and I know acting scenes sometimes take a while, but that took 12 hours?
Yeah, I don't know. It was definitely something. I'm sorry, it was the backlot brawl.
I thought it looked like and I noticed this on Twitter at Work Shoot Pod, it looked like a lumberjack match with cars. It looked like that was the match. And then they're explaining during the match that, oh yeah, you got to get a pinfall in the ring. What? I didn't know that. They didn't tell us that at all. So, we didn't know the rules. We didn't know why the cars were there. They're honking their horn at Adam Cole. Why are they honking their horn at the heel? Why didn't someone get out and beat him up? Why is everyone just sitting in their car? What is this, driving at the movies? Somebody get out and do something. You see the man's being beat up by Velveteen Dream being beat up by 3 other people. Someone come out and help him. I don't know. It seemed it was a kind of a weird match to me. I thought the guys worked hard, obviously. I'm not going to fault either wrestler. I just didn't. I thought it's hard as far as these cinematic matches, and we're going to get this, right, Corey? We're going to get some really good some really good cinematic matches, and we're going to be some hits and misses. And this one was a miss for me. This one was a miss. It was passable. It was fine. I wasn't angry that I watched it, but I wasn't delighted that I watched it either.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't feel. You know what? I think what my biggest problem with the match was, and I think this is the first one we've had it this way. I don't think we should have, and maybe this was part of the reason I didn't love the Money in the Bank match, which I thought was super goofy and not in a good way. I think when titles are involved in matches or championships, I don't want to see cinematic matches because it feels like almost like a cheat. But if it's for a title, I just want to see a wrestling match. If you want to see stipulations, that's fine. But just give me a match. Don't give me this garbage of all of this extra stuff, And I know Dream has gotten better as time has gone along, but if Dream is not at that level at this point that Cole can put him into a great match, then don't have Velvet Dream in the match. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean on that respect, but that's just kind of the way I feel.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, Dream's had a lot of great matches in the past. It's been really difficult with the coronavirus because I think a lot of Dream's appeal is through the crowd more so than a lot of other guys. Keith Lee is like that, things like that. But he really seems to get a lot of his oomph from the crowd.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. It just wasn't great. It wasn't great at all and didn't need it.
I agree. Like I said, this is fine. Now, so let's get into the discussion I brought up a little bit earlier. We'll make it quick here because we're a little short on time tonight. Who do you think? So you think it's going to be Keith Lee, or do you think it's going to be Finn Balor?
It depends.
Adam Cole.
So first of all, come on. So first of all, and we've talked about this, in the past, right? Like with Cole possibly leaving. There's rumors that he's already signed a contract. There's rumors that he's leaving. There's rumors that everything. We have no idea Adam Cole's status. Him winning the title is some indication that he may stay. We talked about it on our other show, the idea that, Brian James really put him over hard, said he's one of the best wrestlers out there. So I don't know. I think the momentum's there toward him staying, obviously, with him winning the title. Maybe there's something with the Undisputed Era. There starts to be some cracks there. I think you have to go with Keith Lee. I think he's the guy who's set up to beat him. Nobody else has beat him. And I can't think of any other baby faces who have the momentum that Keith Lee has to beat him. So I really think, to me, it's got to be Keith Lee. And they have such a deep roster that they could have that be the main event, and I think they would have a hell of a match. And then you have, they could have a ton of other matches in between. You can do a cinematic gimmick match. You could do obviously NXT Women's Title match. There's a ton of things you could do. They could even throw the women's titles in there with Sasha and Bayley. Have them come back to NXT and wrestle, a couple of the women. They could do a lot of different things if they want and still have a good show, even though obviously Keith Lee and Adam Cole are their main eventers. I think it'd be one of their biggest shows. So I think that's the match that I would do. But, we'll see where they go with it.
Yeah, and maybe we're forgetting somebody off the top of the head because they weren't on the show tonight. Karrion Kross, or formerly known as Killer Kross, over Tommaso Ciampa in just over 6 minutes. I thought this is the perfect way to do this, to put Karrion Kross over. I know it's not the NXT style, especially on a TakeOver, to have a super short type of squash match. I mean, last time we really had one of these that I can remember was when Kevin Owens won the title versus Sami Zayn. And I thought that worked at the time, making Kevin Owens look like a monster.
That was really well done.
Had the pedigree of ROH and independence more than the former Kevin Kross / Killer Kross with stuff on Impact and, Lucha Underground and AAA stuff. So he doesn't have that resume going into
Does he have it, though, right? Does he? I don't know, Corey. He has some fancy suplexes. He looks like a badass. His woman is hot. She seems to have more charisma than him. I've watched this guy a bunch. I don't get it. He's big, and he looks mean and tough. But the build to this match wasn't anything to write home about. His promos, they even tried to do the pre-package. I wasn't even excited by the pre-package because he just said TikTok. I mean, what is he? Other than an entrance and a couple of suplexes, what's the big deal? Like, what are we doing here? Damian Priest should be in this spot, in my opinion. But who knows? And here's the other thing that I noted, too, on Twitter, at Work Shoot Pod. They're lucky they don't have crowds right now. I don't know that this would go over very well with the NXT crowd, that they're pushing a guy that, I don't know, seems okay. Seems like a good wrestler. But I don't see, we talked to Big Vito. That interview's coming up probably on Tuesday, But Big Vito talked about a guy having charisma, a guy having it. I could be wrong. I've only been a wrestling fan for 35 years. I don't know. But I don't see it with Karrion Kross at all. I don't. I see a guy who looks mean, who looks tough. But this is something NXT really hasn't done. They've done this with a couple of guys. Adam Cole got a big push early, but not even like to this level. Drew McIntyre got a really big push really quickly. But Drew McIntyre, Nakamura got a push really quickly. A couple of guys, Owens did, but they already kind of had it, right? They were already there. The crowd already knew who they were and were anticipating them and whatever. I think this guy has the building cred with the audience still. They are bringing him in like he already has cred with the audience, and he doesn't. So I don't know. The match itself was fine. He killed him. And you're right. If the idea is to put him over and put the rocket ship to his back, this was the absolute right result. They know what they're doing in terms of that. I just don't know that this is the right guy. Even when they were talking about putting him in the main roster, doing all this, like, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know.
I mean, I don't disagree with you on the idea that he feels more like, I think you said this on previous shows, he feels more like a main roster type of guy, someone who should be on a SmackDown with Charlotte, not Charlotte,
Scarlett.
Scarlett, thank you. Scarlett Bordeaux. Like I said, I liked it. I thought he was put over really strong over basically one of the 2 or 3 top guys in the company, the biggest babyface in the company, very similar to what they did when Brock returned at, I believe it was SummerSlam, basically suplexing John Cena like 13 or 20 times.
That's Brock Lesnar. He has built-in cred. Corey, what do you think would happen if the crowd was there? Well, how do you think the crowd, if the NXT crowd was there over these last couple of weeks and this result, how do you think the crowd would react to this? How do you think they'd be reacting to Karrion Kross?
Shock silence, maybe.
I don't
I don't
know.
know if they'll be. I don't know. It'd be an interesting test, but you know what? They don't have that luxury right now. They're trying to. If you know, you're bringing up. I mean, Dijak hasn't done anything, but you're bringing up Dijak. You're bringing up Matt Riddle. You might. Who knows? You might be bringing up. You know, Damian Priest, who's never won a match in NXT. It feels like. If you're bringing up some guys, you got to start promoting other guys. And if that's what they're doing,
there's promoting a guy, and then there's what they're doing with Karrion Kross.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I don't know what the right answer is here. We will see as time goes along. Main event time: Io Shirai versus Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. Slightly under 18 minutes for the NXT Women's title. You said earlier, one of the best three-way matches you've seen in a long time. I don't think it's the gold standard of WWE three-way matches, of the modern era, which I would say would most likely be that Royal Rumble match we had a couple of years ago with
Rollins, Cena, and Lesnar. Yeah.
Right. Or, you know, the one from, what was maybe one of the WrestleMania 20 or something, when you had, was it Jericho versus Benoit versus Angle or something? You know, you had a couple of matches there, or I forgot, or it might have been Guerrero in the match. But
But again, that's 15 years ago. I mean, we're putting this up there with some of the best three-way matches in recent memory. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, that says a lot about the match.
Absolutely, and I was happy that one of the few matches I actually got right of the night when this show first started. If people listened to last week's episode, so I got the 6-person tag team wrong. I got the Keith Lee match wrong. You know, when this thing started, I got a couple of matches these wrong, but I got the main event right. I said Io Shirai would win. When we got to today, I actually called Jay about 15 minutes before the show. Actually, you called me to ask if we were doing a post show, and I was like, I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable. I think Charlotte's going to keep the title. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, all right, I got that one right, thank God. Thought it was a really good match.
Yeah.
Earlier in the day, on the WWE Network, they had the best of, I think it was called TakeOver or NXT matches. And they had a match that we were at, the NXT Brooklyn match of Bayley versus Sasha Banks, which is one of the best matches I think either one of us has ever seen live. It was one of the first times I had seen it since we were there, which is like 4 or 5 years ago now. And this was very similar to me in one way. When this match first started, I wasn't sitting there going, "Oh, this is a great match." I was like, "All right, they're pacing, they're doing whatever," but it slowly built, and it was just a point where you just went, "All right, something special's here."
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, Io Shirai dived off of the house, and you're like, "I don't know if she's going to win the match, but we've got something there." I'm tuned in. I'm ready for the next 10 minutes or however long we have left, and we're going to have some fun.
Yeah,
That's what we had. You know, so I mean, I don't know how long Io Shirai keeps the title. I still think that the main goal for this company right now is Flair versus Rhea Ripley in a one-on-one match.
I mean, listen, Corey, they have some really good chemistry. I mean, they have chemistry and again, I've talked about this before. I like when wrestling sometimes seems like a fight.
Yeah.
Because Io Shirai's great, but Io Shirai's small. She's a high flyer. You know, her stuff is a lot of high flying. And that's what a lot of what we see now in 2020. But I like sometimes the idea that people are just trying to beat the hell out of each other. And I think when it comes to Charlotte and Rhea, because they're both bigger women, which we don't get a lot, there's not women, their size, them and Raquel Gonzalez kind of is it, right? So you have these bigger women, and they're both good athletes, but they just want to beat the hell out of each other. So, that's a match I'm really, really strongly looking forward to. And Io has a plethora of baby faces and Io, I don't even know what she is, a heel or I don't know what.
I think she's a tweener or leaning toward the baby face.
Yeah, I think the crowd was. I don't think she ever identified as a baby face, but she's so dope. The crowd's like, "Come on, we're not booing." Like we're not. When the music came out and she's doing all this craziness, and then she's flying in the ring. So I guess she's a baby face, but that makes it even better, Corey. She can wrestle any of these women on the NXT roster. She could wrestle Sashi Blackheart and be like, all right, that makes sense. She could wrestle Tegan Knox. Okay, Dakota Kai. So I think there's a lot of possibilities for her, and she can make them all look good. I think she was the right person to go over. You can keep Charlotte in NXT, or you can have her on all three brands like they want to do. And And yeah, I thought it was a great match. I thought the right person went over, and that really, I don't want to say that match saved the show, but
Oh, save the show. Definitely saved the show.
Yeah, it saved it from being an okay show to a very solid show, I think.
Yeah, you know what? It went from being a 5 out of 10 show to being a 7 or a 7.5. That's what that main event did. It made it from being an average show to a good show.
Yeah, and I'm really glad it was the main event too. Last main event, women's main event was I don't know if it wasn't the Brooklyn match. It was their Iron Woman match, right? Yeah. That's the last women's NXT main event, the last takeover main event featuring women. With all the stuff they've done with women, I think that's really, really interesting. Definitely the right match to be the main event. That's not even a question. And I felt great for Io Shirai. I love and NXT always does these things right, even with the streamers like they have in Japan. You know, like I think about when Omega won the G1, right? They always know kind of like how to do things a little different to kind of make sense to the audience and to make things look good. And I was very happy for Io. You could tell how excited she was to win the title and how great of a feeling it was for her with everything she's been through, injuries, having these opportunities taken away from her. So, I mean, she basically is a baby face, but she can kind of wrestle anybody. And, yeah, they have a champion who really doesn't speak the language well, but they did have one of those for a while, and she was pretty badass. So they know how to build somebody who doesn't speak the language great. So I think they'll be okay. So we'll see what happens. But I'm very excited she's a champion. I could not be happier for her.
A couple of things before we get out of here. One, I thought it was a really good touch tonight, and we spoke about this on last week's episode in regards to the dope former gunner in TNA comments. But you had tonight with Keith Lee on his jacket and his tights representing Black Lives Matter, and it wasn't made a super big deal. It was very tastefully done, so it didn't overshadow the show, but it was shown that, WWE, even a company that's leans very conservative, to put it nicely, whatever you want to say everybody's opinion is about Vince McMahon and his relationship with Donald Trump, they didn't stop him from expressing his opinions. And, I thought that was a nicely and well done thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Two, I do think it's going to be interesting to see where they go with Charlotte and Rhea Ripley, if Rhea Ripley stays on NXT, or do the fact that she got pinned, maybe, and you want to continue this, maybe you move her up to the main roster because of the fact you have disasters like Nia Jax up there and you need actual wrestlers. I don't know.
I mean, they have a big hole in the main roster, right? Becky Lynch left. Yeah. She is the gold star of the women's brand, so she's gone. So they're gonna need someone to help. They really are. So we'll see what happens.
I'm really interested to see where some of these feuds lead. We don't know when our next NXT TakeOver show will be because of everything that's going on. I don't know if there's one still scheduled for SummerSlam weekend. There was originally one supposed to be in Boston because that was going to be going up against the G1 show at the Garden, which of course is canceled. So we'll see if that show's going on. But it will be interesting to see where some of these feuds go. And it was for the first time, I said this last week on the show, but this is the first night that I actually didn't mind Charlotte being on NXT because she's so much bigger than almost every other woman on the roster. And we haven't seen her in a match with Raquel
Gonzalez.
Raquel Gonzalez, but she's such an imposing figure that I think she's a really good base for a lot of these small women to learn from.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see her bury everybody like she gets accused of doing because she is so high up on the card. But for the first time, I didn't mind her being there. I don't know if that makes sense to you or not. But.
Yeah, I didn't really mind her being there at all. I'm okay with her being there. Shockingly, they didn't have her get pinned. But you did point that out. You said I don't think they're gonna have her get pinned if it's a way for her to lose but not get pinned, keep her credibility. I don't mind Charlotte on there as long as they're doing the right things with her, which I think NXT knows how to book her probably better than the main roster does. She's been a 80-time champion already, right? So I don't mind keeping her in NXT, working with Rhea Ripley, working with some of the other women. But here's the thing. WWE may be like, hey, we need her back on Raw, like legitimately, because we have nobody. We have a title match with the best women's wrestler in the world, and this other woman who hurts everybody, and then we have Liv Morgan underneath. Like, we're struggling. So we need you to come in and really, really help us. So that really might be the plan. But I want to see her stay in NXT for a little bit longer, build the Rhea Ripley thing up a little bit more. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But definitely some intrigue with where they move forward. And here's the other thing about NXT that I love, and I know I'm putting them over, and some people disagree with me on Twitter about it.
Don't worry, we're marks. We're being paid by
when someone wins a title in NXT, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. They didn't have had that many people to be champion in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So when someone wins a title, it's a big deal, and that's supposed to be what wrestling is. Sorry, guys. I know you want this person to be pushed, and that person to be pushed, and that person to be pushed. The title's supposed to mean something, unlike the titles, on the main roster. And so, very, very glad that they kept the titles on those guys. And I could see a collision course of Keith Lee winning, having both belts, and and it'd be great, personally, seeing like an African American star really put up and put over like that. I think it'd be great. So, but that's really for way, way down the road. We're doing some fantasy booking here. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and the last thing for me before we get out of here, I said this on last week's show, but once again, and it was a slightly different promo, but the promo that they had right before the women's match to promote this three-way, I thought was so well done. And if you're gonna, I don't know who did that package, but that person should be working for Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. You don't want to
No. Keep them where they are.
No, but I'm just saying.
Because they're gonna go to the main roster and they're gonna mess them up. I think it might be Jeremy Borash, right? I think he's the one doing a lot of that stuff, right? No, keep him there. I want to see one good show every week. I don't want to see 3 below average shows every week. Keep him there. Keep that show being good, and let me, have the main roster be bad, and let me have one good show every week from the WWE umbrella.
All right. Let me just finish that point. I thought it was a really good promo package, and I wish more people saw it, because you have less than half the people who watch that disaster known as Monday Night Raw watch NXT every week, based if you believe Nielsen ratings. So you wish more people got a chance to see that great promo package promoting this three-way match, which they truly delivered. But yeah. But Jay, I think we went over a lot of good things. We'll be back with another live discussion on the Week in Wrestling on Thursday. But we will have our interview with the very interesting and entertaining, and not by far the biggest fan of Cody Rhodes of AEW, Big Vito, on this Tuesday. Any last thoughts that you had before we do plugs and everything else?
No. I think it was a solid show. It was fun. It was good doing this with you. Check out the Big Vito interview. I think it's going to be really, really good. We got some great feedback on the David Starr interview. I re-listened to it and didn't realize how much presidential talk we did with him. And seeing everything that's going on now, it's really kind of apropos. So, check that interview out. Work Shoot Wrestling Podcast. We are at Work Shoot Pod. I was pretty active on Twitter, arguing with people on there. So really had some fun live tweeting. I probably won't be live tweeting Raw because Raw's terrible. But yeah, we'll definitely live tweet the Wednesday Night Wars, I should say. Check us out on Facebook, Work Shoot Wrestling Podcast. And we're on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Work Shoot Wrestling Podcast.
And as we always say, if you leave us a 5-star review, we will be sure to read it out the following week. And as always, check out our sister podcast, You Don't Know Jackie. We are episode 52 this week, so we are our 1 year as a podcast with the ladies of comedy there. So getting ready to start, I guess, year 2 of that, compared to, I guess, like 6 years on and off for this one. But Jay, if they ever get to that point, please shoot me. But Jay, as always, the final word is yours. Thanks a lot for coming with us tonight.
I think we're done here. See ya.